Okay, the name of our app is I Was Here, and it's your travel companion. A lot of travel related ones. Okay, so I'm Adam. Adam Mattis, team leader apparently. And David Lee is on the project, and Sudasharna.
Unfortunately, we're Windows users as well.
All right. Sweet. Okay, well, we used a little bit of Bootstrap anyway. It's strapped up. And we used Firebase for the database. It's hosted on Heroku. Let's see.
Adam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's called I Was Here. And so the main features, kind of a notes editor. Didn't really get to finish it all the way. Technically, it has it, but that's one thing we'd want to add a little bit later. But it basically searches APIs for locations, and then also has a weather feature, which we ran into a little trouble integrating it at the end, but we got it, kind of forced it in there. And so you can have photos on there, and it does have a secure login, so you can sign up for an account and then log in with your username and password. And so basically, it's a site where you can get on there and share your stories about places you visited, reviews on just different locations, really anything you want. And then also through the keywords that you place in there, you'll be able to search for them and return things from the Google Places API. So let's see. And so yeah, the app is meant for a mobile diary, easy to log your day's journey, jot down important things that you are likely to forget later in the day. For instance, if you're on a tour of France, visiting several places during the day, you want to capture more than just photos, maybe want to jot down how certain words are pronounced, then share it with friends. You could be on a business trip or kids' college visits. You have a list of things to look back at. Okay, and we'll go ahead and show you guys the site now. Here we go. All right, there it is. And yeah, clearly had a little trouble with the screen size on the one I was designing it in. It's zoomed in a little further, so we got the high water on the footer there. Okay, so basically you come over here and log into your account. I already have one set up. Oh, okay. Thank you. Test.com. Okay. And that does go through Heroku for the authentication. And then so once you're logged in, the username button pops up with the user's name there. And so when you click on that, I already have a couple stories loaded in here. So it queries the database and then dynamically creates the Bootstrap panels and populates all the information with the content you have on there. So this first story is just one that I had grabbed off the internet. And so when you're posting your story, I should probably show you that. You can place in the title, and we couldn't host images through Firebase, so we had to kind of just store the image URL in Firebase, and then we just attach that as the source when it goes back through and pulls it out of the database. So you put your story in there. The text box is tiny, but you can put a ton of stuff in there. And then you can do up to 10 keywords. You only have to put one in, though. And then so after you've submitted it, it ends up here on your page. And those keywords are then put in this panel here, and they're clickable. So, for instance, and these keywords are, so if you visited a place and mentioned it in your story, then you would put that keyword in there. So then when people read your story, they can say, okay, that sounds interesting. I want to find out more about that. So in this case, Theodore Roosevelt National Park is in there. And so when you click on that, it sends a search to the Google API, Google Places API. and it returns pretty much the first picture it has on there. So they're not always great. And also at the top it'll say the address. When it's pretty much like a geographic location, it's just city and state. Not as much information as like when you query a business. Let's see. I think I have a business on here that'll actually tell you if it's open or not. So, for instance, if you go to the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum, it gives you the address there, and it also says that it is open now. And let's see. And so, yes, all of these links are stored in the database and then populated in the panel. And every time you click them, it'll send a new query to the API. And then also we wanted to get the weather attached to it, but we were kind of late on collaborating with integrating it into our HTML. So it was supposed to be a seamless one after the query through the first search. It was supposed to send over the latitude, longitude, but we weren't able to get that going quite all the way. So we just had to throw in some inputs here. So you have to do it manually right now. Bam, weather. So yeah, there's that. And then also there's a separate search for the index page, or for the home page, which is the little search bar hidden up here. One thing we found about the Google Places API is that when you do the initial search, it'll kind of send you some more general information, but it'll also pass along IDs and references that you can then resubmit queries to different locations in the API and then get even more detailed information. So found that out just a couple days ago, really, and so it could get a whole lot more complicated. Another problem I ran into with the API for Google Places was for instance, the businesses, they'll have a lot of things like reviews and ratings and stuff, whereas locations don't have that. So if you're dynamically populating your panels, as the results are coming up, if you run into something that's undefined, it just stops right there and throws an error. So I'm sure a lot of people probably ran into that using Google Places. And I didn't quite figure out how to do any if conditions to get those to get around those when they don't show up. So some of these searches have to be a little limited. For example, if you search New York up here, just the one, and it's real boring. All it says is where it's at, but there is a little extra here. When you click on the picture, it'll bring you over to a map where you can search for directions and just Google, not ours. And then, of course, when Chris was helping us with getting the API going, he had a search in pizza. So I kept doing that, and I ran out the API key requests a couple times, had to renew it. So if you do that, you get a little bit more information. You get the address, phone number, and then, for instance, this is where I had to just get rid of all the reviews. Because if I have a review on here, or if you have the reviews enabled and then somebody searches for a location, it's just errors, so nothing comes up. So unfortunately, I had to pull that out of there. And then, so yeah, that's about it. Every post you have is going to be here on your user page, and they'll just keep going down. Only have the capability to put one picture in there right now. Just wanted to try and keep it simple and keep moving. Oh, okay. And so our admin stuff is done through just a Bootstrap modal. Oh, yeah, sorry.
We actually gone through a lot of issues. We had original idea required a lot more APIs, but we couldn't incorporate them. Time constraint, and some APIs required authentication, which we didn't have time to go through all that. Weather API alone, we went through probably 3 until we finally got one that actually worked. And Google Places took us a lot of time because the documentary was really long, and we used the wrong link, the wrong URL like 3 times, twice or something, and then we finally got it to work yesterday or 2 days ago. So yeah, just to put it together took a lot of time. And as everything else goes, web page and images and everything, it was actually a lot of thanks to our team leader for putting it all together. When we were trying to figure out the APIs, it took us a lot of time. Well, it took me all the time.
All right. Well, thank you guys.